All right, I'm Nathan Cox. I'm sitting here with Stewart Rhodes with Oath Keepers. Stewart, you want to tell us a little bit about Oath Keepers?
What we are is an association of current serving and former military, police, and firefighters, all of us who have sworn an oath to support and defend the Constitution. And the whole point of it is to remind those who have taken the oath of that obligation. It's not just to do what the politicians say or to enforce the laws as written by the politicians. It's to defend the Constitution. And it's required by every officer, whether they're federal, local, state, whatever they are.
In your speech that you just gave here a few minutes ago at the after party here at the first presidential debate, you kind of gave some advice as to how to prepare for a possible coming another economic collapse or currency collapse. Can you kind of reiterate some points as far as for people who are just completely unaware of what's going on? Can you tell them what they need to be doing to prepare?
Well, I mean, we should recognize, like in the military, there's an old saying in the infantry, embrace the suck. We need to realize where we are, our economy. It's really kind of past the point of no return. The rest of the world's already starting to dump the dollar, and the IMF has already announced, the chairman of the IMF has announced that they would like to use the IMF special drawing rights as a new world currency to replace the dollar as a world reserve currency. It's on the way to a true global currency. So the rest of the world's already started to dump the dollar, and they're going to replace it with something else. George Soros has been giving a lot of public speeches saying the exact same thing. So we need to recognize that. When that happens, because our government has already hyperinflated the money supply by printing so much money, when the rest of the world dumps the dollar as a reserve currency, our dollar could half overnight in its value, and sometimes even worse. It could be as bad as Weimar Republic Germany or Argentina 15 years ago. So we should not think it can't happen here. And so I think that people need to start preparing for that, and they need to become much more self-sufficient. We advocate that especially the veterans out there and police officers really focus on strengthening their communities, making sure they're squared away with food storage. Our grandparents used to store food for the winter. It used to be that most Americans had food or knew how to grow food. Now we don't. So we advocate food storage. Do the same thing the Mormons do. You can go to providentliving.org, which is an LDS site, and get some good advice. At least 3 months worth of the common goods you use every day, and then after that build up wheat, rice and beans, powdered milk, things like that, which last for 20, 30 years. So why not do it? It's not that difficult to do, and it doesn't cost that much money, and it's good insurance. So we advocate that, and we think it's a good idea also to make sure you've got communication set up, emergency medical, all the things you would need in a disaster, whether it's a floods or whatever, a tornado, whatever it might be. Make sure you're squared away. And then also form neighborhood watches so you can take care of yourself and prevent looting in times of crisis. Start sheriff's posses, which will be under the command of your sheriff, back your sheriff up. And we also advocate that you revitalize the concept of a citizens militia. We think you should do this at the county level. It should be by county ordinance, under an official part of the government. Like a volunteer fire department is set up by the county, but staffed by volunteers, this would be the same way. So, but rather than private militias, it would be a public militia. And we also think it should be done at the state level if possible. So you start at the very bottom, work your way up from your town to your county to your state, and hopefully get all the way to the state level before things happen. But if there's a collapse before that comes, you're still already in a much better position. And then the third plank is sound money, making sure you've got gold and silver in your pockets, or even better, have your state do what Utah just did, which is pass a sound money bill. So you have a structure in place when the fiat dollar collapses, you've got something to replace it with. And the answer is just getting back to the Constitution and constitutional money. And the fourth point is state sovereignty. Making sure you've got a strong state with a squared away legislature, squared away sheriffs, understand their oath, and a squared away governor that will stand up and say no if the federal government wants to come in and declare martial law under a pretext of a collapse. Things like that could happen very, very easily. And if we're desperate and not prepared, then the military and police are much more likely to go along with unconstitutional orders because they'll perceive it as being a real emergency. So the more squared away you are and prepared your community is, the more likely the military and police will be to say, they don't need our help. They don't need our help, they don't want our help, we're not going to do that. So that's the whole point of Oath Keepers. That's a two-pronged mission. On the one side, the current serving, do what's right and refuse unlawful orders. On the other side, to the veterans and the rest of the people in this country to prepare themselves and revitalize our republic from the bottom up.
You and I both took the took the oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and our, prior to tonight, and we did it again tonight, to folks, whether it's police officers, judges, sheriffs, politicians, or soldiers, or whoever that have taken the same oath. What would you have to say to them in brief as far as upholding their oath and why it's important?
Well, it's in the Constitution itself. The founders put the requirement of the oath in Article 6 of the Constitution. It's part of the Constitution. They did that for a very good reason, because our oath is to support and defend the Constitution. It's not to support and defend the president or support and defend the edicts of the legislature. Before the founders did this, the oath was to the king. Even today in Great Britain, it's to the queen and her progeny. In Nazi Germany, the oath was to the Führer. That they pledged and swore that they would obey the Führer absolutely, and they would die for the Führer if necessary. Our oath is different. It's to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And so there's an obligation. It's not just that they have a right to refuse unlawful orders, they have a duty to refuse unlawful orders, and it comes from the Constitution itself.
And what's the URL of your website?
It's oathkeepers.org, and we also have our Veterans Initiative to reach out to veterans. It's called OperationSleepingGiant.com.
All right, fantastic. I appreciate you sitting down with me and talking here in Greenville, South Carolina.
Thanks a lot, man.